We have present myself, Derek, Victor, and Joanne. And so we have a quorum, so we can go ahead and get started. Oh, and there's Billy. So we don't need to have an alternate, and if they show up, that's lovely. The minutes that were so fabulous last month. Did anybody have any objections? And if not, let's make a motion to accept them.
I motion to accept them.
Great. Actually, I see that Jessica just showed up. Hi, Jessica. So I'm going to back up for a second, and we can actually appoint Jessica as a voting capacity today to complete the 5th. And Ty, do we have to actually make a motion to do that?
Hi, I'm happy to do.
You just have to seat her. That's all.
Just see her, just say so. Okay, so Jessica, you're in for a voting status today, okay? Welcome.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Okay, so now we can go to the approval of the minutes. If they're okay, would someone make a motion to accept them?
Motion to accept.
And I will second them. The motion has passed. Our application, the first one on is 00516, the Morrison Gallery. And I think Billy is here and will explain what's going on. So I hand this over to you, sir.
I'm getting the sense that he may be having some technical difficulties because he keeps re-entering.
Okay.
As a ghost. He's there, but he's not there.
So I'm not sure if you want to,
Can we officially skip come back to him?
right, table this and then make a motion to add to the agenda the other 2 applications that are before you.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to add the 2 new applications and do those first. And somebody can second that.
I'll second it.
Okay. And we'll go ahead with that.
Who second? Derek did?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go to Kevin. Would you like to do Ben and Nina's property?
Kevin, you're
You're on
muted.
mute. Kevin, you're still on mute.
How's
There
that?
you go.
You got it.
Sorry about that. Yes, it's the property on Elizabeth Street here, and we're just looking to add on a bedroom, bathroom, and just some closet space in the back. And we're going 1 story out the back, keeping in with the trim, all the trim detail, and the windows should basically look like the rest of the house. And there'll be a deck off of it, but we're not quite sure exactly the size, but we'd stay pretty much Cynthia has drawn up pretty much exactly what we're going to stay with. But the final plans haven't been done and detailed yet. But if the scope of it would be smaller, if anything. And I think we meet all the setback requirements.
Okay. The drawing I see is just it's a simple drawing here, and that's what you have offered, correct?
And that and the footprint and the footprint.
Okay.
We have.
So is the siding going to be the same as the existing house now?
Yes. Which is a beveled, it's a 1/2 by 10, 1/2 by 8 cedar clapboard siding.
Okay.
And you shouldn't see anything from the north side of the house. It's basically just when you turn off of 341 up Elizabeth Street, you'll be able to see part of the addition from the back.
Mm-hmm.
So just the south side.
Looks good. Anybody have questions or comments about it?
No, it looks good to me. It's mostly not, I mean, it looks like you can't really see it much from the road.
Correct. They just planted a line of shrubbery along the two property lines, and they're on infant stages, they're only about 8 feet tall. But yeah, if you're walking, you'd definitely be able to see it from the road.
Okay,
But we're not trying to overpower it. We're keeping it to 1 story. So
Right.
it doesn't look so massive.
nice.
Proportionally, it should look pretty good with the rest of the house.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's not a huge, but it looks like it adds a nice square footage to the house.
Yeah, we're looking at probably 400 to 500 square feet. Just a nice mess, just a nice primary bedroom and new bathroom for
Kitchen.
them as well. And enlarge the kitchen a little bit.
Oh, I see. Where the dotted line is where the kitchen used to be.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess my question would be, you said this is preliminary, so do you come back to us with final?
Basically the outside, the inside might change a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just locations of closet space where the bathroom might go. We just wanted to get it on the board and get the zoning, and then, we're gonna tweak it. Mostly the interior. If anything, it might shrink down a little bit, if anything. So Cynthia Cryer, the local architect, just drew it, a little bit larger than might need be. But it's gonna be a 1 story.
Okay.
okay,
The roof lines, the windows on the back side of the house will sort of dictate the pitch of the roof, which we figure is about a 5 pitch.
mhm. Any other thoughts or comments?
No,
Not really, no.
Derek, would you put together a nice motion for this?
well, I motion to approve. Is that enough of an emotion, or do you need more?
I think an emotion or emotion, both, actually. It's,
I emotionally motion to approve.
all right, I second that.
Thank
We're
you.
good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
And Billy, are you here yet?
I can hear you. Are you guys there?
Yes, we can't see you, though.
I don't know what's going on.
He
Do you
doesn't
have
want to
on
see.
are you on an iPad?
I'm on my iPhone.
Oh, on your phone?
Yeah. I'm trying to do it on my computer too, and I can't get on the computer either.
Well, do you want to go ahead and explain what's going on?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to do right now is get my full CO so we can open the gallery sometime in mid to late May. And we didn't realize that the phase 3, all phases, or phase 1 and 2, would need to get done in order for us to get our full CO. So what I was going to ask is if we could get away with right now having what I sent to Ty earlier, the plantings that we did, and then in replace of like a few things, like the 3 trees that are out in front, we have these beautiful kinetic trees that we want to put out and kind of rotate sculpture around and get a good feel for where people are walking after they park. For instance, like if you're coming in off of Main Street and you're walking straight towards the gallery on that concrete walkway, you'll notice when you get to the doors, you can take a right and there's a nice walkway that leads you all the way around to the back. If you go left, in the plan that we had, there was a planting to the left. We might want to make the walkway go that way too, if people are walking on the grass and not going towards the handicap spot to walk and then go in. So there's all these little ifs about that stuff, like have the plantings done in the right places. And unfortunately for me right now, I know this isn't your concern, but for me, the bank has been very patient. It's taken a long time for us, and they want us to have our CO. So they're not releasing some of the funds for the last AIA to my contractors so I can get this done until I get the full CO. And a temporary CO isn't pleasing them. So I'm kind of like in a tough spot with them, getting the full CO so we can open. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to, we didn't realize when we made this plan that we'd have to get all the plantings in before we got a full CO. So, I'm just suggesting that if we can, there's a few things that are like very important too, like the south side of the warehouse building. It's a mess over there. We want to get that all cleaned up and painted. I'm actually meeting Tim and the painter tomorrow to talk about what we can do to get that looking really nice. And the driveway to be edged really well, and just, making that all look really good. And then coming back to the ARB towards the end of this year after we're open and getting a feel of where the sculptures are going and where certain trees should go, rather than just planting them to plant them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
So
yep.
Billy, quick question. So are you able to get your C of O in with the phase 2 not being done? Does the
No.
bank? No?
No, so what he's looking to get, at least from zoning, and the CO can't be issued by the building official until zoning issues a certificate of zoning compliance. And all the approval requirements need to be met. I've talked to Billy about a temporary certificate of zoning compliance, which would require a bond for the things that are not done. But what I'm hearing from him right now, it sounds like the bank, that will not satisfy the bank. So it almost sounds to me, what Billy is asking is that you waive the balance of the plantings.
Correct.
One other thing that I just want to know is that I did hear from a member of the planning commission when they saw that this was on your agenda. And they noted I know that Ellen, you brought this up, and Billy's talked about it a little bit as well, is that foundation area where the insulation is showing.
Yeah.
And kind of weighed in that if the planting plan was to be changed, that was an area of concern. Although it originally wasn't on the plan, it was something that was important now. Also, the parking area, as far as your landscaping plan goes, had wheel stops. Like maybe like granite wheel stops are showing on that plan. And that is something that needs to be considered as well.
Granite wheel stops?
Well, I'm not saying that they're granite, they were wheel,
Okay.
I'm assuming they might have been proposed as granite, but if you look at the planting plan that was approved, there's,
Yeah.
Wheel stops indicating where the spaces would be. It's a gravel parking lot, so you're not gonna really be doing line painting, and I think
Right.
that must have been the plan.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that was asphalt at first and we changed it to the gravel.
I don't know, it seemed that the plan always called for gravel, at least
Yeah, I think you're
the
right.
recent one.
Yeah, I don't know why those
Yeah, it looks like
parking
you just have
lines
the
are there.
apron as the concrete apron, and then. So
Right.
what
the
you're saying,
concrete
Ty,
apron.
is that you just want, they just wanted to identify the slots by the header or the footer for the car,
Yeah, it looks like they're there. If you blow up the plan, you
Yeah,
will
they
see
are
them
there.
at the front of every parking spot. Is that, you drive into a regular parking lot and
Sure.
it tells you not to like slam into the store or something.
Right.
It's like, this is where you stop.
Yep.
But so what you're asking for us to do is just sign off on this in good faith that you'll be doing all of the landscape stuff later. Is that correct?
Yes. Or to come back to you with a similar plan, but maybe it might be a little bit different, and asking for your approval for that. you know, like the tall grasses in the front. We might want to move those out towards the road now and look how they, you know, put 3 or 4 in front of the gallery where all those little tall grasses are and see if it looks right. And if it looks good, then go for it. And if not, come back to you and maybe bring them out to the new sidewalk, bring them out towards the road more and have it, you know, come back to you with either the same, you know, plan or a better plan, you know, something that would even be better for everybody. I don't know, but yeah, I am asking that basically in good faith to let me come back to you guys and say, here's what I've, you know, through this whole year of being open, putting sculpture out. Do we really need to put like the 2 trees on the south end? Maybe we do. Maybe they do. Maybe we won't. Maybe we want to, like, I know I definitely want to put 2 trees at the front driveway because I'm not going to have sculpture there. And we wanted to put a tree on one side and maybe a little garden with a shorter tree on the other side. So like there's, you know, definites that we want to do, but if they're on the plan, they have to be done before I get my CO.
And obviously there's no planting going on now anyway, because it's too cold.
Exactly.
Well, is there precedent for doing something like this?
No, usually, you know, what happens if it's not the planting season, you know, I've talked to Billy, like I said, usually traditionally what you do is take a bond for the balance of the work to be done. You issue a temporary certificate of zoning compliance, which will get him his, you know, temporary CO. And then it allows him to move forward with his project. I mean, it sounds like the bank is being an issue here. And there's not a lot that we could do about that.
Right. And that's what exactly, that's not your concern. That's my concern, but it throws a big wrench at me because they're not going to release the last 30% of the AIA that just went through and then the final one until I get my full CO.
So Billy, what's the grand opening date again?
I'm looking at either the 2nd or 3rd Saturday of May.
Okay. And then you're looking to have the plannings to go in the fall to be settled by winter?
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Would we, I mean, I get, obviously, I think that everyone is, you know, understands your situation. Is there, would we be able to get some sort of a letter or something saying that you would indeed do the landscape? I mean, I don't know quite how to ask this.
I hear what you're saying. I would do that. Absolutely. Because
I don't know, you know, that may have no bearing on anything. So
Right.
it has no bearing on anything.
I don't think that I mean, you don't have anything legally binding.
Right,
What's
okay.
binding right now is the application, the plans that were submitted and approved, and, you know, the holding of the certificate of zoning compliance until that plan that was approved is in place. So, and once it's approved, if you were to waive this and it was approved, there's no recourse to go back and say,
Right.
all I can say to you, to everybody, is, you know, that I would definitely, I want to have some trees out there and some little garden areas. And there's, you know, there's just no way that I would do that to anybody in our town. I'm really just looking to get this, you know, I mean, and I get it. If you can't, it's okay. I'll just have to get my temporary CO and get the bond, which is okay, and pay out of pocket, I guess, and try to keep going. It's gonna be rough for me, but again, that's not, you know, I don't want any special favors, or, I mean, it is asking for a special favor, I know, but I don't expect it. I'm not expecting it. I'm just presenting it. And of course, I'm going to come back to the ARB and show you either the same plan or maybe, you know, the same plantings but moved around a little bit and do it. Now, you know, Richard's on board, Richard Rosiello.
Mhm.
we're gonna do
Billy,
the,
what's the investment you're making in plantings? Do you know?
the what?
What's the investment? What's the dollar amount that you're investing? in?
It's not that much. Richard was really helping me out, so I don't know. I mean, the bond
Was-
isn't an issue. That's, I think it was just a couple of $1,000s for the trees and, it wasn't that much. They're really,
The submission he gave me with regard to the estimate for the balance of the trees is $2,020.65.
Oh,
And
wow.
but Ty, you said that the bank, at this point, the bank won't even accept that idea of a bond.
I'm not saying that.
Oh,
Billy is
No,
saying
that's what the
I
bank-
don't know
yeah.
what his issue is.
yeah, it's
So-
been rough with this bank. I mean, they've been lenient, but they're just not very understanding about the CO, they're like,
Yeah.
it's been rough and they're, they wanted me to have my CO last October. They said they were gonna pull the plug and we rushed the sheetrock and now some sheetrock's cracking and it's just been a real pain with this bank and now they're pulling this on me. So it's kind of like, that's why I'm asking you guys this.
I think I understand. To me, the landscaping is super important because the building is more of a mass than it was originally. So the landscaping is more important in softening it from the street.
Yep.
So, it's to me, the landscaping is really important. So
That's what I was
just-
asking Derek was curious when he was thinking of putting in, like was he going to run with it through May and July and the planning's going in August. So he spends a couple months watching, to his words, the traffic patterns to understand where he wants to final landing of all this to make his decision, which I respect. But just not wait till the end of fall or till the season's completely gone and we have nothing.
No, I
Right.
would wait. I would do it at the right time to plant this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can't plant, I don't think you plant in the heat of summer. I mean, you have to probably,
Yeah,
it
it'd
has
be
to be a little wetter.
yeah,
So-
in the fall.
So one thing I should know, per the zoning regulations, a temporary certificate of zoning compliance is only good for 6 months. So I think I did mention it to you, Billy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you would have to do those plantings within 6 months.
Oh.
but
Oh,
the situation is that the bank, in terms of what Billy's saying, this particular bank will not accept a temporary C of O. So that's the particular problem I think that Billy seems to have rather than other
Right.
banks being more lenient.
but Ty, would you just explain what you said again? Is that, what did you just say?
As far as a temporary certificate of zoning compliance goes,
Oh,
so
okay.
if
The
the bank
temporary.
was to accept a temporary certificate
Right.
of zoning compliance, he would still have to do that planting within the
With-
6 months. You can't
Okay.
wait, into the late fall. It would have to be within that 6 months.
So, and we approved a temporary one a few meetings back, but that never happened. 'Cause
So you guys so I came in with a meeting with Richard Rosiello and we tried to do it in 2 phases, hoping that we could get phase 1 done, get our CO and then go on to phase 2. But it turns out that I just learned from Ty when I came to her that all the plantings have to be done. There's no phase 1 or phase 2 to get our CO. The permanent CO.
Right. No, I just remember discussing this and discussing that, yeah, it would be fine for a temporary one with the bond.
I don't remember that at the meeting. Maybe I don't recall that at the meeting we had. I could be wrong, but I don't remember talking about a temporary CO with a bond then. I think I learned about the bond when I first met Ty just a couple months ago when I brought her the drawings. Right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what transpired before me, but
Right. I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
I mean-
I'm pretty new here too, but I do remember discussing
Well,
that.
I think a lot of this happened before I came on too. I mean, I think this building has a longer history than most of us have with the board, so. And I assume the pictures that were just sent recently are just options of different kinds of outdoor sculptures you're thinking of installing?
Those are actually sculptures that I have. The trees are inside the warehouse right now. They're gonna go out as soon as the weather breaks so we can dig. And the flower form is gonna, thinking about putting that to the left of the walkway coming in towards the entrance. Or the red and black spiral piece. I just sent a little bit like of that things that were kind of like, floral like, and especially the trees, the 3 kinetic trees. And for me, it'll be really nice to put 3 kinetic 16-foot trees in the front of the gallery to say, wow, it looks really great having these, trees right in front of the gallery. Or, I might come back to you guys and we might, everyone might say, yeah, that kind of blocks the building. It might look great. What kind of trees? And then we can present what we really want to do, the right tree. So it's a big plus, I mean, and being
Right.
an art gallery, if I wasn't in an art gallery and I was opening this and it was just a big, whatever, a shoe store,
Dentist office.
it would be, yeah, I'd get it. I'd have to, I'm not putting sculpture out and I'm not, so I don't know. I guess that's one.
Also, I assume your sculpture you will be putting out different sculpture throughout
Absolutely. Rotating all the time. Yep. Or between the courtyard, between the 2 buildings and in the front and all the, little spaces will be rotating sculpture if they sell or if, or we'll get new trees, new kinetic sculpture, whatever, how it goes. But yeah, that'll rotate. And
Question, this is Jessica. I, again, also don't have a lot of the history, but what is the ARB's actual jurisdiction over?
Jessica, I can't hear you. I don't know if
I
anybody
can't
else.
hear you either.
yeah, I
I can't
lost you
either.
too.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Sorry. My question is, what is the ARB's actually jurisdiction over a piece of temporary sculpture or, landscaping that could be like, somewhat transient in nature?
I have no idea.
So
Well, I guess that's a question, I guess, to the group, and I don't know the answer, so.
So I think I could speak to that as far as zoning goes. Is that it's considered not a structure and it's not, regulated and there's no permits or something like that. That's considered art. And it's changes in and out. So all the sculptures and different things that you see throughout the town, there have never been any permits issued for them. So I would imagine this would be the same.
In the same.
Unless, of course, there was some reason for him to make them permanent fixtures.
Okay, thank you.
But since they don't require a foundation like a building, I think they would never be considered permanent.
Right.
Even if they had to have a weight of cement holding them down or something. So
And Ty, just for future knowledge, every time he switches it out, he's going to have to come for approval of the sculpture, so we have a point of view.
No.
No, so like I said, they're not going to be considered a permanent structure, so there is no permit associated with those, no application, no permit, no, no jurisdiction over that.
right.
Interesting, yeah. Huh.
And it's going to be done, obviously a sophisticated way. It's not it'll never look like a jungle of
There'll
sculpture.
be no phallic symbols showing up in the middle. of
Yeah,
town, right?
exactly.
Well,
Yeah, that'll be inside. That will never go outside. Don't worry about that.
Good.
No, I mean,
Just count on its toes.
No, yeah, it's just,
I mean, if I don't know, I guess, to make it easy on everybody, I just want to say it again. That's my problem, not yours. So if you can't do that for me and understandable, and with, and me taking care of that corner of the warehouse, maybe before I get my CO, and make a promise that I'll have that done before I can even get a CO. If, putting that in there helps a little bit, but if you can't do it, it's okay. I'll get
So
by.
just so we're clear, the plantings does not include the driveway or parking spots, any of that. We're just clearly plants only, correct?
Me?
Whoever, I mean, I think what you're asking for, it's not the gravel driveway or the concrete apron, the other elements of the surrounding. You're just asking for the plants to be
Given
a Dupree.
temporary,
Yeah. If that's,
well,
Ty,
the
am I
permit-
right? Am I right in assuming right now that if Stan and Joe come back and do what we've done, what they asked us to do inside, which we did, is the only thing right now holding us up to get our CO, the plantings?
That is the way that I felt. And then in addition to that, the wheel stops were brought to my attention. So it's the plantings and the wheel stops in the driveway that were part of that landscaping plan.
So
gravel.
Ty, when you say the wheel stops, does that also include that the driveway and the parking area would have to be complete with all the gravel in place and, that it's completely finished?
I did not realize it was not completely finished, but yeah, I guess if you're feeling like it's not what you expected it to be, then it should be.
Right,
So
right.
I don't know.
So I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of stuff that's outdoor, stuff that still needs to be done according to the original plan and what Billy had suggested would be done. So it's
Ty,
a,
what are the wheel stops? Are you talking about like the whole perimeter, or just where the
Yes.
parking is, like where?
Yeah, it's this really, see these up here, these
Yep, that's it.
markers. And I guess the question I'm is right now there's gravel just laying everywhere. There's no boundaries to control the lines of where these mediums are and landscaping is going. It's just, this, this is just gravel, loose gravel. It's not contained or sectioned off with pathways or any other concrete mullions or detail.
Right. I mean,
So
when I initially reviewed the plan and did the site inspection, I more or less assumed that was just for counting purposes, those spaces there, because obviously you can't line paint the gravel.
Right.
But it was brought to my attention after the fact that there was an agreement that there would be those wheel stops. So that's why I'm bringing that forward now.
right,
Okay.
right.
Can you outline again? I just saw what you had out there. I didn't see that before. Can you show me exactly? Yeah. Can you show me like where the wheel stop should go again?
they're right here. They're at the heads of, just see them here.
Okay, there.
oh, look at you with your, wow, you're
Very
good.
fancy.
I do this all day long.
Ah,
Don't judge me.
So,
I'm making you well.
okay, I got you. So
Yeah,
so it could be granite. It could be a steel. We were going to do a steel.
Yeah, the steel would be amazing with the rest of your architecture.
Yeah, that's what we were going to plan on doing, like a steel thing that went down into the ground and came up like 4 inches. So it kept all the gravel in.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
And it was posted down with like a piece of rebar that it was then welded to, so it can't move on the opposite side. So it would look really cool.
And what's going here, Billy? Is this going to be, is this in yet?
That's just what you just did. That's just,
Or
that was gonna be the steel too. I was gonna do the
Okay.
whole perimeter. In
And
that,
then and then there'd be plantings or grass going inside that.
yeah, so where you are right now,
Yeah.
those plants are already there. We
Okay.
planted those in this past fall, 2 trees.
Is this detail here at the driveway yet?
Yep, so we did that in concrete. And
Okay.
then if you keep going where the handicap is, we did that square. Yep, a little further in, right?
Here.
Yeah, kind of a little further in. We
Okay.
kind of made a square handicap that goes all the way
All
to
right
the
here.
walkway.
Okay.
And it's a
Gotcha.
big pad. It's almost the same size as the skirt coming in.
And here.
So there, we're gonna make that rounded.
Okay.
Yep,
But it hasn't been done yet.
that hasn't been done yet. And I'm just learning now that Ty just said that that has to get done as well. So that's something that I'm meeting Tim, my contractor tomorrow, my builder tomorrow, and I'll ask him how fast we can get those wheel stops in, even if they're, you know, in the steel or a temporary one, that we can then get all the steel at once, because I need to order that steel and get it all at once to do in the spring. Or can we get this done? Can we get the wheel stops now and get the gravel in and put it down while there's, you know, while the ground's frozen, or does it have to be softer? I got to ask him that tomorrow, because that's a big, that's, I need to know when that can get done, because if that's going to hold it up too. So even if you guys approve this and with the plantings, if that's an issue, then there's,
Well,
I got to visit that now too.
so Billy, that's something that you probably could bond for as well, if you're willing to. That's up to your discretion. You'd have to get it done in 6 months. But
But that's-
it's not, you know, it's not a safety issue where you wouldn't be able to open up.
But it would still be a temporary CO, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So
That,
if I don't,
it's all kind of part of this whole overall landscaping thing. And I apologize. I just didn't realize that was a concrete part of
okay.
this plan because I wasn't involved originally.
nope, that's all right. You don't have to apologize.
If
It's
then
just
if we
another-
do the temporary, the problem I think that Billy's in is that if we do a temporary CBO, then he is not going to get the monies released from the bank. And
Yeah.
again, I know, Billy, it's not our problem, but that seems to be the real conundrum that you're stuck with right now.
That's,
Is that
yeah,
correct?
that's my major issue. That's why I'm coming to you guys now. But now I'm learning that even if you guys said to me, Billy, it's okay, come back with the landscape plan, that's not, I still have to do this other stuff. So, and I need to find out how quickly that can get done myself with Tim,
Okay.
you know,
Is it possible that you could talk to Tim, get a little more information about that, and then we offer a special meeting as soon as possible to get that information and go from there? Or do we want to make a decision specifically about this tonight? I mean, if I were going to prioritize what had to be done, I would certainly think that the driveway and the parking were more important to finalize than the plantings. I don't know if other people feel that way.
I agree, Ellen.
I definitely agree. And I would
If
feel
we get
very,
that settled, I agree, the planning, knowing that it has, you know, it would go in fall.
yeah, but
would be
not
acceptable.
having, I would be very hesitant to say, okay, with all of the driveway stuff still to do. So it would be great if we could have a chance to revisit this and think about it a little.
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like we're not talking about timeline at all.
Yeah.
Like planting, but you know, especially if you want us to in good faith, you know, kind of say, all right, here's a CO. I think it's really, which I'm not really inclined to do right now, like everyone says with the driveway and all, but also just talking about how long this would take.
What do you mean? How long the driveway and the planting?
Yeah,
Like
like when after talking to your contractor, like when you expect the driveway to be finished.
yep. Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
see him tomorrow. I mean, actually my contractor is the one that said, let's put the gravel down in the spring because now it's fall and it's going to snow and we're going to get the gravel all over the place. So there's no sense in doing it now. And I just said, yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's do it nice and neat in the spring. And, you know, I guess not knowing that that was going to hold up my CO either, I would have said, well, no, let's do it. Get it done now. So that was kind of a,
Mhm.
just, you know, a surprise, but it's something that hopefully can get done. So why don't we do that? Why don't I meet with Tim tomorrow, since I'm meeting him anyway, to talk to him about that south end corner. And I'll talk to him about what we can do with the parking, and if we can get the gravel in and get the wheel stops in, how
And
long
do you
that
have
would
your,
take.
do you have the pathway to the front door in? Is that in?
Yes.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, all the landscape lighting, you can see those here. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
in.
that's
Mhm.
all in.
Yeah.
Yep,
And the parking area lights are in?
yep, the two parking lot lights are in, yep.
All right. Well, why don't you do that? Then we can, it's, you know, it's hard to make a spot decision about something like this.
Yeah,
Because if we say fine, then we have no more, that's it. It's out of our jurisdiction.
right,
Right.
okay. Well,
Would everybody be agreeable to have a special meeting and not
Mhm.
hold Billy for a month on
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
If he got
Absolutely,
the
Yeah.
information, we could just do a Zoom.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
okay. I'll report back. So should I report back to Ty?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, well, I shouldn't speak for you, Ty. Should he?
Yeah,
report
yeah,
back?
of course. Yes.
Ty, can you outline on that, where the wheel stops should be, where they need to be for now? So if I don't, you know, if we don't have to do the whole thing, we can just do what we need to do? Like, is it just where those parking lines are? The
Right, you have
parking
to
is
do,
one?
I mean, you have to do everything that was on the approved plan, to get a certificate of zoning
Right,
compliant.
right,
Those lines that are on that plan are deceiving, because I would imagine those are the only things you don't have to do, those parking lines, because it was approved as a gravel parking lot, but for whatever reason, those lines
Right.
seem like they're just there for counting purposes.
right.
Yeah.
And that's all. But everything else that was, approved as part of your conversation with the ARB and the Planning and Zoning Commission needs to be done before it can be zoning compliant.
Okay.
Okay. So Ty, do we need to make a specific motion or are we just gonna table this until we have more information about the parking and really
Yes.
address that as the primary issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, just table it all together.
Just, so we don't need to make a motion about it, we just table until we hear.
Well,
And then
yeah,
we'll,
a motion to table would be good.
okay. I'll make a motion
Okay.
to table, the
I'll be a
decision.
second.
Second.
All right, Belly. So we
All
will,
right,
we look
I'll get
forward
my-
to hearing from you, and I guess the best idea is tackle the parking first, and then we'll go.
Yeah, let me get that done tomorrow and I'll report back to Ty and I'll figure out how to get my Zoom working. So the next one you guys can all see me.
Yay.
All
All
right.
right.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks,
sir.
Tim.
Buddy, I
Bye.
appreciate it. Thank you.
And one more, I apologize for the delay, Andrew. This application for Hugh Weiser, replacing some windows, it's application 02-23. Andrew?
Thank you very much. Thanks for agreeing to hear the project tonight. So that's correct. We're replacing some windows in the main house. And then we're proposing to add a floor above the existing garage. And we would put thank you. We would be putting a weather vane or a cupola on top of the new addition. So you can see here all the way to the right of the page, the existing garage, which is 1 story. Thank you. Yes, we would raise that. This is great. Usually I'm the one that has to do the mouse. So this is amazing. Right there. And then we would add a story to that. And we would put a little weather vane and cupola up there. You see the 2 windows. And I guess I should point out on this elevation as well, we would be replacing all the windows except the ones that are called out. So there's the doors are not being replaced. There's kind of a nice thin window by the garage door that's not being replaced. And there's a small window in the kind of Italianate tower that would remain. The window replacement is actually a replacement window. So we're not going to be replacing the frames. It would be exactly the same. And the sashes that we would put in are a more energy efficient, but there will be no change to the mullion pattern and no change to the color. And so the elevations will appear relatively identical to what you're seeing now. Oh, thank you so much. Exactly. And we're doing them only on the south elevation here and then on the east elevation. The garage, adding a story to the garage would be done with exactly the same materials. So there's no change to the siding. There's no change to the roofing material. There would be no change to the profile because we'd be able to handle everything insulating from the interior. So we would just be matching what's there now. You see that because the garage is a slightly bigger volume than the long leg of the L of this portion of the house, the roof does kink slightly to accommodate that. That portion is something that is not visible from the street because that is behind the house and then also behind barns that are on adjacent properties. And so these windows in this view, the windows will all be replaced except for the door, and they would same thing. And we will be adding some windows, of course, with the new level on top of the garage, which would be done in the same. They would be the same profiles, same color, same frame as the existing.
So I have a quick question. So
Sure.
It looks like you've tied the roof of the second floor of the barn onto just kind of a continuation of the existing roof of the second floor.
Correct.
And there was no way to drop it down to give it a little more interest.
Right. So it would be very difficult to get so a drop that would be significant enough to create that step in the massing would be really limiting in the head height. And then we felt as we started to get, if we tried to just drop it slightly, it starts to look like it just is a mistake. So the hope here is that what we're doing is kind of continuing the language of the house by extending it. The existing porch the existing roof that comes out to frame the kind of covered entry stops, and we would not be continuing that. So there's a break there. And then by adding the weather vane, the idea is to kind of create a rhythm on the roof that hopefully helps to, exactly like you said, to kind of break it up slightly without having to drop that and lose some of the space that we're creating on that second level.
I assume there was probably a reason, but I just thought I would ask because it does look like it would look a little better if it were dropped down.
Right. So that was something that that was kind of the main, thing that we studied. And, we came to the conclusion at the end of the day that this is the thing that the client preferred and that we preferred in terms of getting a balance of the aesthetic, the performance. And so, the idea would be that, like I said, those other elements essentially kind of help to break things up enough that, in addition, the garage, is probably not original to the structure. And so, our hope is that in just extending this line of the house, we're kind of, in keeping maybe with the original layout.
Overhang, it's not, the porch overhang helps disrupt that a little bit. That's just nice.
Right, exactly. And that was, originally we thought, oh, maybe we'd extend that, and then not extending it, I think was probably the most helpful thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this one?
No, I
Looks
mean,
good.
it's like if the new windows are gonna literally be the same, pane patterning as the old ones and everything looks the same, it seems fine.
Okay. So Victor, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion.
Not like this kind of.
What are you
motion.
making a motion?
Yeah. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There we go.
Approve as is.
Up. Everyone's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you all
Appreciate
very
your
much. I
good
really
luck.
appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your patience.
All right. Oh, thank you. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
So I have can I ask, can we revisit Billy's art gallery for a second?
Yeah, I was waiting for that 5-second pause until you spoke up.
Well, I'm just, my concern is that he's not been very good in he's taken liberties in the past. And I worry, I mean, I know there's nothing we can really do anyway regarding the landscaping. We can say yes to it and then he could make some changes and we couldn't really do anything anyway. Is that correct?
No, he
Oh.
made changes to his landscaping after it was approved, after he got a certificate of zoning compliance, and those things were intricate parts of your approval, and he would be in violation.
And we could force him to do it the way it was in the plans. But if we approve the delaying, then we're out.
If you waive those plantings and modify his plan not to include those, you have no jurisdiction to
Yeah,
go back. And he seems like a really nice, reliable person, but anything could happen. I mean, the
correct.
bank could take the building, it could be sold to there's a million things that could happen where he's no longer even involved, so.
Right, right.
I'm not I'm just trying to give you the facts. That's all.
You
do you.
That's what I would like is what is that old movie or TV show?
Just
Just
the
the
facts,
facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am. It's like, because it just felt uncomfortable to I'm not inclined to just say, okay, don't do the planting.
Yeah, I feel like the only incentive we have to get what, something that we want is that CO. I mean, and he wants that. I guess my thing too is just, it seems like it's taken a long time for this
Long
council
time.
to get to where it is. And so I would really worry that if we waived that, suddenly, with all good intentions, it starts taking forever to finish that driveway. Or it, yes, we're getting.
Yeah.
And I know we are, he is a fellow, he's a resident and a community member and all. And there is a certain, you want to be somewhat compassionate, but at the same time,
Right.
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah. I think it's also, you have to think about precedent too. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
if you do it for him, are you going to do it, for everybody?
Right.
Well,
Right.
Ty, what happens then if this doesn't get approved and he doesn't get his loan? Does it sit empty and unoccupied for another year?
Yeah, I don't know what his financial situation is. That's not, so
Right.
I
I
can't.
spoke to him about it. I know we're being recorded here, but I spoke to him and he said he could, he would just have to pull the money from elsewhere and try to get things going. So certainly my enthusiasm, and I think we all are in the same places to try to help him in any way to get it open as soon as possible. But I think in good faith, if we really hold to making sure that the driveway is completed, because that is more of an eyesore than anything else. He has the whole thing, grassed right now. And so the rest of the front of the building is presentable, even if you put sculpture out there, we wouldn't miss the trees as much. But the parking lot is a mess.
Right, but I mean, yeah, it doesn't look finished.
Yeah.
The parking
Yeah.
lot, and then there's the other side that you had brought up that,
And he brought that up. We did a walkthrough yesterday and Billy brought that up himself and said this was something that should never have happened. And, you know, when he talked about the south side of the building with Tim, he was referring to that. So I
right,
think in good faith, if we see that that gets repaired on his own because he really has no legal recourse to have to do it, then we know his heart certainly is in the right place. And he has the intentions of trying to make everything really look beautiful.
Well, and it sounds like we might be the least of the challenges that he's facing. If it's only about a $2,500, you know, investment he needs to make to get these trees, you know, planted. So
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. It's the parking lot's a bigger issue for
yeah,
sure.
it's
Yeah.
definitely the
I'm
expense.
and I'm sure the amount that his bank is holding back is a big deal too.
yeah.
It's a huge amount of money.
I mean, I'm assuming, or he wouldn't be feeling the way he's feeling right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I just needed to find out where so basically we have to decide whether I guess it sounds like everyone feels the same way, that the driveway is an absolute must, written in stone or in gravel.
Yeah,
Um,
it feels like it's for utility use. It doesn't feel like it's for, you know, guest.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we really just hold to say that has to be completed,
Mhm.
But-
the plantings, especially if it's only, I don't mean to sound like some wild person here, but if it's only $2,000, you know, it's just not, it's not a lot of money or
And
effort
it's like
for what he originally
it's a total
presented.
of 6 trees. You
No,
know,
no,
well,
it's
no, there's a
than
lot.
that.
There are a lot of little plants and grasses and
yeah, you're
groupings
right.
of things.
But I'm just saying the big stuff that's going to make
Right.
this statement is.
I
the
think
trees.
it's like 13 trees, I think,
13
or
trees,
13
yeah.
plantings.
Yeah,
Right.
no, and I
Plants,
just
not
because
trees.
I don't know plants that well, I, went and copied and looked at, I mean, they're nice planting, it's nice
Mhm.
plants too. I mean, some of them
Mhm.
are very nice.
These
So they would be
trees-
sorely missed.
These trees that he's getting from this British artist, whose last name, rats. I think it's Stone, I've forgotten now, but they're amazing. These trees that are 30 feet high, they're
Yeah.
sort of like these Calder mobiles
Mhm.
that are bright colored and fabulous looking.
You know what? The only thing about it is if they're that fabulous, someone could buy them and they could be gone.
Well, his theory, and again, it's just a word, is that if they sell that well, he will continue bringing them in and selling more of them.
Well, right, but
Who knows?
that's, right, who knows?
So, but if
Okay.
we're in agreement that we'll just, we'll really pressure or believe that the parking lot needs to be done before we can do anything. Oh, there they are.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, I love them too. I was like thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't want those to go away. They're kind
No,
of,
and because I said that too, and Billy said, well, if they sell well, then I think the guy's name is David Smith, that he would keep bringing them in. These are some of the pieces that Bill has in his storage that are waiting to go out.
I understand that.
Yeah.
My comment was about the fact that if they're all so great and they're sold, then if we've said you don't need to plant any trees because you have these trees and you have this and you have that, he could have none of that.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
there would be no trees too. And then where are we?
no,
Right,
that's a true point. But I think I'm going to buy these, so these want to be out there.
You-
Because these are fabulous. These are cool and they would make sense here.
yeah.
Well, good for you, bad for us.
You can come visit.
Thank you.
But then I also don't, I mean, so what we're saying is if he finishes the construction of the driveway, the wheel stops and all that, then we're willing to let it waive the plantings? Or are we not? Because I think that's not fair too, to kind of give him that feeling like, well, what if you do this, then we might give you this.
Right, yeah. I mean, financially, the driveway is going to be a bigger bite for him to have to cover than the plantings. So, he's gonna have to get that done without the bank's effort, or without the bank giving him any more money.
I mean,
Well-
just as a reminder, you're really not supposed to be considering money
Money.
when you make your decisions.
Right.
Thank you for that. You know what? I was going to ask you if he can't plant till spring anyways, and he's looking to get that money released, sounds like yesterday. How's that going to help him? I mean, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could even help him anyways, because even if we did hold him to it, he's not going to be able to probably make that investment and get it installed in time to release the funds.
Right. And he certainly can't have the opening in May without the parking lot being done.
No.
So,
Well, he could. I mean, you can park there the way it is now.
You can park on the street
It doesn't
and just
look
walk in.
right. Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say if the interior's done, there's nothing keeping him from opening it
I suppose.
other than us.
I was thinking more of an emotion rather than emotion on that one. That he wouldn't, yeah,
Yeah.
but
No, and I mean,
But we have to look at it from the perspective of the town.
yes.
So it's really what's right for the town,
It's right to do it right.
Okay.
right?
All right. So hopefully Billy will get back to us, and if it's okay when he gets in touch with Ty, that sorry. I know. Well, anyway, that we will hold a special meeting as soon as he gets back to us and see what we can do with the parking lot.
Should
And
there
not
be
discuss the
somebody,
plantings right now. We're just gonna talk about the parking lot.
should there be somebody we should be consulting about this? So that we're aware of all of the, like Ty said, what are all the ramifications of this? Like in precedent, I mean, Joanne said, we don't want to set a precedent that is not a good precedent to set.
Well, I mean, the irony of this one is that the ARB has no legal recourse anyway.
That was,
Yeah, your approval goes to planning and zoning. So
Yeah,
you're,
Our history case was on the Bass property. We made recommendations about plantings. She chose not to accept them. And, she said, sue me.
Mhm.
well, I mean, I think that could happen if you
yeah,
wanted to. The town could find you in violation of your
Right,
zoning
right.
permit. I mean,
Right.
your advisory to the zoning commission, if the zoning commission, takes your advice under their discretion when they approve the permit, it's binding.
Yeah, for sure. But it gets to the point of where is the town going to spend its money? As Donna had said in that particular instance, the town is not going to go against Ann Bass and, fight this issue because she, we're not allowed to talk about it, but she has money and we had to let it drop. We just let it go.
So on another issue, if I
Yes.
can bring something else to your attention, that's being addressed is 88 North Main Street, I guess it's called the Firefly or the Old Victorian. That maple tree that was in front there that was very
Yeah.
much a part of your approval has been taken down.
Yes.
I
Yes.
reached out to the owner, Mr. McPhee, yesterday, who quickly responded with his landscaper and apologized. And they're working on revising a planting plan to come forward to you guys in March to get approved. His landscaper quickly sent me some pictures of the actual tree that was taken down, his tree guy, not his landscaper, his tree guy, his arborist, and said that it had been decayed. Regardless, he should have come to you first before that happened to get that approval to take that tree down, but in hindsight, I mean, again, this is a case where they're in violation of what they were approved of. And they're gonna be coming in next month with a request for a modification.
The modification is that the tree is already gone.
It's already gone, but,
just walked by it
yeah.
today, and I mean, I looked at it and I said, wait a minute. I'm sure we approved it with the driveway going around that tree.
Right.
It's like, am I remembering this wrong?
no, others noticed as well. So, yeah, it just happened yesterday and it was a big,
Okay.
it was a big deal. So, you know, the things that you're doing are being noticed, you know, definitely.
Did they give you a reason? Why did they take it down?
Like I said, the arborist sent me a picture of the interior of the tree and it
Oh,
showed that it was
okay.
somewhat compromised and needed to come down. Again, they should have done it in the opposite order, come to you
Okay.
first, but they did apologize and they're trying to make it right and they'll be here next month.
Okay.
Okay.
I have another question for you, Ty. So for the Morrison Gallery with the parking lot, isn't that P and Z?
So that,
part of
right,
their approval was, you know, to do the parking lot. That's not really under our purview.
well, the number of spaces is, but the look of the landscape, the visual, the aesthetics, planning
Right.
and zoning
us.
are not permitted to comment on aesthetics.
Right.
So that was actually captured on your architectural plans and landscaping plans, and totally my fault that I missed it because I thought it was kind of like an abstract kind of thing saying this is how many spaces are supposed to be here and didn't realize that was actually a concrete part of the plan that was approved, or I would have mentioned it to Billy earlier and I was called out on that.
I was surprised that he was so unaware of what the whole parking area was to look like.
Well, and
You know,
I have
I
a
don't-
question. I have a question along those lines. Is it possible to see a more detailed drawing of what was actually submitted and approved to the ARB?
That's what's up there. That's what's posted.
Just that schematic. Okay, so then doing, you know, a steel plate, you know, would be a departure, or there's not enough information on that drawing to indicate whether it's
Right,
concrete.
you can't determine what that that line that keeps running around, there's no determination of exactly what it is.
Or
It's
a detail or anything like that. So
So I can do a dig into the minutes and the recordings of the meetings because everything that is approved and discussed is part of that approval, whether it's written on a plan or not, if it's part of what was agreed to. So if you feel like this was discussed to be, you know, a certain metal or concrete or whatever, I can do a deep dig into when this was approved and what was discussed and come up with that, you know, information.
My memory is that we didn't get into that detail when, you know, when the plans were submitted. We really were more looking at the building. And
This
I
was
don't
from
remember
way
on that.
back when it was first submitted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I don't remember a discussion about the wheel stops at all, you know, when.
But I mean, the parking area was that whole parking section was part of the original application.
I guess so, right? You have to be.
What is posted there is what was approved.
Okay.
So I don't know, you know, there were many modifications along the way. It's a very complicated file
Yeah.
and very hard to follow, but that depiction is what you approve. And the subsequently the Planning and Zoning Commission approved as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, Billy, you know, mentioned that he had a new idea of putting these, you know, this flat metal in instead of the typical stop. So, you know, coming up with a new plan, possibly it wasn't in the original idea anyway. That
well,
may
I
not
mean,
be what I
it
just said.
doesn't seem like there's adequate detail in the plan to
to indicate what he was planning, like
Yeah,
what he wanted
Correct.
to do, right?
Yeah.
So,
And he doesn't
and his
remember what
architect,
he was
his
doing.
architect disappeared apparently. So I think part of Billy's feeling like he's floundering a little bit is because he does not have the eye and planning of the original thought process with him. So I get that he's sort of on his own coming up with these things. But
if I could also just weigh in on this, I agree with Joanne that like essentially waiving our like
Yeah,
ability to control the process in any way sets a poor precedent. And then
Yeah.
I also think that you know, if whatever, you know, financial situation aside, like whatever has been submitted to should we, you know, we should hold to that. And I think that regardless of the kinetic trees, like having plantings will just be a very big improvement to how that building feels for walkers and you know, pedestrians, as well as you know, people passing through in their car. So that's my 2 cents on the Morrison Gallery.
well, especially if Victor buys all the trees. Then
Well, it
we're
doesn't
back
sound like
to
we have
square
any.
zero.
It doesn't sound like we have any jurisdiction over the trees at all. So, you know, why are they even part of the plan? If it's a piece
Well,
of sculpture that could be purchased.
No, it's a
Correct.
combination. If you look at it's a combination of both. I think he's going to be adding sculptures into the greenways.
right, right. This artist from Billy told me this week, this artist just contacted him within the last few months. So it's like this whole new thing. And then Billy was like, oh my God, these trees will be so fabulous. So I don't want to put this other tree here because
I
Yeah,
don't,
but
got
in
this great tree. So, I mean, I
in it-
get that, you know,
in an instant,
Yeah.
that the artist could change his mind, and you know, I mean, there's so many
true.
so many
true.
things that can happen in a process
but
that
I also feel like, I mean, those trees are really cool, but they're not real trees, you know, like
Right, right,
maybe
right.
they're not.
I mean, he
place.
can do what we say, you know, he can follow suit, plant the trees and just not water them and they'll die.
To me,
You know,
what-
so I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that can certainly go in
right.
a different direction that we have no control over.
But I also feel like since we don't have any jurisdiction over sculpture, basically he should say, well, this is landscaping. These are areas I'm leaving open for sculpture. And
and
Exactly.
he's got area. I'm looking at the plan. He's got plenty of areas open for sculpture.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
I agree. I think that the like discussion of sculpture, whether they look like trees or they look like people or they look like something else, is just, it seems like outside the purview of this
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
you're right,
especially after
Jessica,
Ty
you're right.
said there is no process for approving or not approving. Someone brings in a sculpture, as long as it's not permanent, it's just a sculpture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like there's a great hesitancy to just approve this without the landscaping.
Oh, the other comment I want to have, and I know that we're not supposed to be talking about financing here, but if he's like looking at some sort of construction loan from a bank, is there not a certain limit in like a period of time into which the disbursement needs to be made? Otherwise, essentially the funds are forfeited. And so if he's talking about getting a temporary C of O and then like, I guess privately funding or somehow privately funding the stopgap in the funds, but then losing the ability to get the funds released at all, is that something to take into consideration if then he doesn't actually have the money to go from a temporary C of O to a final C of O?
It's a good question. And it would certainly put, you know, the whole project in jeopardy if that were the case. But I don't know what the, you know.
I
what
would
the
think
bank-
there, you know, with all projects like this, I'm sure there are lots of things that can happen that can, you know, alter the course of a project.
Right.
It happens in buildings, you know, all the time. People, you know, I think we just need what we need to be clear that this is what we can control. This is what we ask for, and whether that's what we want, or we're willing to cede on something. And the rest we can't control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that sound,
That works for me. I mean, that works for me. Thank you for that answer.
Right, I think that you should be prepared to not have, if you waive the plantings, you should be prepared not
Not-
to have them. So you should be okay with the fact that there will not be those 13 plantings.
Correct.
That's the proper way to look at it.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
okay.
And I mean, if he wants to, he can always come back and revise and ask for approval for a revision of,
Mhm, mhm.
Anytime, yes.
yeah, so. You know, rather than asking us to just waive it, like it might be done, he can say, this is what I want to do now.
Right, right.
But he's basically said that he doesn't know, this is kind of looks like, but he's got to think about what he might want to put here and might want to put there. So this isn't really what he wants to do anyway.
Mhm.
It
I
sounded
mean,
like that
at
he
this
was
point, I think
already
the
hemming and
plantings,
hawing.
I think the plantings are such a small percentage of what the real problem is, which is getting the whole parking and the rest of that done first.
I agree.
It's
Ellen.
a
I
bigger,
think-
Yeah,
it's financially a bigger project, and it's everything else about it. Is it's just a bigger
Yeah.
project.
I mean, we could go in
Right.
the middle of the night and just plant trees.
but we did, you know, but
Victor will be, in the middle of the night, Victor will be digging up the sculpture tree.
Right, Victor and I'll go shopping for trees.
But Ellen, just not to belabor a point, but when this became the form it is now, we have said in every meeting that we had with him that landscape is a very important part of how this is going to look for the community, because it is a large blank building and it needed, according to our feeling, it needed something to soften it and to bring it down a little.
Yeah.
To connect for people, and
Yeah, it
so
needs
I
a
think it's very
layer.
important.
No, it does need the layers in front of it from the street so that you're not
Yeah.
just in the box.
Yeah, totally.
So
Okay.
I don't think we were wrong we were correct in wanting him to do that. So that's a hesitancy about saying, okay, now it doesn't matter, because it does
Yeah.
matter.
No, I think you're right, Derek. That is true. And standing up for that makes sense. You're right.
All right.
I know, well, it's hard because like you feel for people, but
But that's not where yes, but
you know.
all right.
So we will await decisions on the parking area first and stand our ground on the ground.
Plants, yeah, on the ground.
Okay, you guys.
Okay.
All
Good
right.
conversation.
Do we have to formally
Make a
end the
motion?
meeting?
We do
Yeah.
have to formally end the meeting at, it's 6:49. We can round it up to 6:50, what the heck.
No, I'm doing 6:49 in the
All
minute.
right,
I motion to end.
I
I'll
second.
second. Jessica, thank you for participating tonight and for your thoughts and being involved. We appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Good
All right.
everyone.
And
Good
nice
night,
to
See you
meet
everyone.
all,
Bye.
Victor.
Bye.
Have a
Joanne.
good week.
Thanks, hi.
Bye.
Bye.